opportunity of the international webinar on aquaculture and marine biology on this pleasant day. As the ocean is the largest ecosystem in the world, it is piled up with diverse of the ecosystems, in which it consists of various unique organisms which have numerous benefits. According to Fabian Christoph, without water, our planet would be one of the billions of lifeless rocks, in which there will be no creatures as well as there will be empty rocks instead. Among this is the important one is corals. Coral reefs are the backbone of the entire ocean and they serve as the nursery for the ocean. It's said by Jeff, in which it consists of the millions of creatures which would benefit both humans as well as other creatures directly as well as indirectly. And one more quote by Sahara Deshade is that coral reefs is that they represent one of the world's most spectacular beauty spots in which they form the foundation of marine life. Without these coral reefs, there may not be the exotic species could survive easily. For both the marine ecosystem as well as the coral reef ecosystems, there are so much of threats, including the climate change. And according to Chiazerling, is that if you protect the coral reef, you protect the ocean ecosystem. Regarding is my topic, marine ecosystems, a boon to the human and conservation of rainforest of the sea. And myself is S.S. Kritika from the Department of Aquatic Environment Management from Kerala University of Fisheries and Ocean Studies. So the presentation parts of my presentation is that first of all we would have a general introduction on ecosystem and about marine ecosystem as well as coral reefs along with the threats and effects and the ways for conservation and in general environmental sustainability at the conclusion. So first of all the ecosystem. The ecosystem was first proposed by A.G. Tansley and according to him the ecosystem is the interaction of living as well as the non-living factors. So, to be saying precise is that these are the combination of biotic versus abiotic, that is living versus non-living. Coming to the levels of ecological organization is that starting from the individual units, the group of individuals form population and the groups and groups of population will forms the community. The community along with its abiotic factors such as water and soil, climate would mightily form the ecosystem. And when this ecosystem comes into the broad way, we would have the biome, and the entire Earth is said to be the biosphere. So, what might be the types of ecosystem is that we would have two types. One is aquatic and terrestrial. Under the aquatic ecosystem, we would have freshwater and our marine ecosystem. So, coming to the marine ecosystem, we would comprise of the single unicellular creatures till the large aquatic animals, including the aquatic plants, and also besides the human creatures and the human landforms. Our world ocean provides numerous and numerous benefits. In which, first of all, the air we breathe, and also there will be a climate regulation too. How it will be means the carbon dioxide is trapped by the ocean and it will help the organisms for taking in the respiration process and also along the equator to the poles they are transporting the heat. That's why it could superbly maintain the climate as well as the weather patterns. And then from the classic trade to the still now transportation process or going through the oceans, which would help about 76% of the trade processes. And then comes the recreation and tourism, which would being the most unique feature of the ocean. And then the most majority of the demand from the ocean is the food, in which there will be numerous and numerous protein rich seafoods are available. And also now being researchers are founding medicines from the oceans and then combinedly contributing to the economy as the whole part of economy is contributing from the fisheries. Besides this, the ocean is providing the provisioning services such as seafood and regulating services. And how ocean could regulate is from the ocean helps in breaking down of the chemical pollutants by the microorganisms and then the other organisms could easily filter them. And then coming the symbol of cultural and amenity, they would help forming the recreational sites and historical sites near the coastal forms. So one among the marine ecosystems is, as I told earlier, is the coral reefs ecosystems. And this coral reef ecosystem is the one which consists of coral, but also in addition to coral, there are millions and millions of terrestrial and marine forms which combinedly form the coral reef ecosystems. And I would like to add a fact here that scientists estimate that more than 1 million species of plants and animals are associated with coral reef ecosystems. So, what are these corals and coral reefs? First of all, coral reefs. These are the most diverse and economically and ecologically valuable ecosystem which occurs worldwide at but covers only 0.1% of the ocean layers. Even though they cover only this much of trace amount on the earth, they support more than 25% of the ocean life and also the humans. So this coral comes to the class of Cnidaria, and they are absolutely marine animals in which individual animals are said to be polyps, and several polyps could form as colonies. And the types of corals include hermatypic and ahermatypic corals. Hermatypic corals is that one which possesses zooxanthellae, and ahermatypic corals are that which are lack of zooxanthellae. And the one which possesses zooxanthellae build the corals, and that's why they are said to be the reef builders. They require clear water and warm temperature of 18 to 32 degrees Celsius. And a recent report from IUCN is that 33% of the reef building corals are being threatened now. And then coral reefs is, as I told earlier, these are built by the reef building corals, and the individual coral polyps form the calcium carbonate and unite together to form the entire coral reef. There are mainly three types of coral reefs, which are fringing, barrier, and atoll. These coral reefs are the key indicators of the global ecosystem health, and that's why they are said to be the tropical rainforest of the sea. And in a line, we could mention it as the protectors and providers of the ocean and the earth. So, what might be the common threats to the marine habitats is that there might be the accumulation of sediments and pollutants from the nearby factories, and even though there will be a physical damage and loss of predators, sea level rise, and most importantly, trending threat through the marine habitats is the microplastics, which might entirely collapse the food web and also forms the bioaccumulation and biomagnification, which would ultimately end up in humans, in which the start of the bioaccumulation process is the absolutely the humans. And then comes the most and most global triple threat for the ocean, which is the climate change, in which climate change is the most common factor behind all these above mentioned threats, in which there might be the changes in the atmosphere of the earth, and also this is mainly due to the human activities like burning of fossil fuels, deforestation, etc. What happens here is that CO2 present in the atmosphere will become excess by greater than 90% heat will be evolved. And what happened if the water is heated up? The water will become warmer. And if it is warmer, there will be no oxygen. And due to the less amount of oxygen, the water will become more acidic. And the ocean acidification will result and end up in the entire destruction of the living organisms. As these are the consequences of climate changes like sea level rise, and it would warm the corals, resulting in the bleaching and then toxic algae and destruction of habitats, and finally the acidification, which will all end up in the fisheries collapse. So the definition of climate change comes the periodic modification of its climate, which is mainly occurring due to the atmosphere interactions and as well as the collapse in the temperature of the earth. If there is a change in the ocean, there is a change in the climate. It is a predicted fact that the climate change is main and predominantly due to the human anthropogenic activities, which might emit a number of huge amount of CO2, which will end up in the change of the living organism's nature. So coming to the impacts of climate change on coral reef ecosystem is that, as I told, this is being the greatest global threat, which is the need of the hour. So, for it is the need of the hour, we need to conserve it. And how we could conserve is that first we need to know about what do corals need to survive and how they are being impacted due to climate change. So, first of all, let us look on to the what are the factors they need to survive. First is the sunlight. The corals need sunlight because they will survive in the shallow water so that the sunlight will reach them easily because the algae present in them needs sunlight to prepare photosynthesis, and so that if the algae is healthier, the coral will also be healthier. And then comes the warm water temperature, in which the corals require the warm temperature like 68 to 90 degree Fahrenheit so that they could survive healthier. And then salt water. As I told, coral is a marine animal. They should have they should have a plenty of salt water, especially in the particular balance. And this is the reason why the corals could not live in the fresh water or even though in estuaries. The main thing is that corals need salt water to survive. And then is the clear water, is that the corals should be free from sediment and plankton. That's why they could not cloud water and causes turbidity, so that the clear water will let the sunlight in and the entire process will go fine. And then comes the clean water, in which the corals are very much sensitive to pollution and sediments, so that if the pollutants keep on increasing, they would entirely collapse the formation of the polyps, so that they might overgrow the reef. And then due to the ozone depletion, as ocean is the protective barrier for all the living organisms including humans and corals. As I told, corals are living in the shallow water. If there is a UV radiation that are affecting the coral reefs, they might directly have fall on it, and so that the destruction of the coral reefs is 100% clear. And then altered ocean currents. If the ocean current is changing frequently, the coral and sponges to top predator will entirely get collapsed. And also, if there is a not pattern of the circulation, they might affect the transportation of eggs and larvae within the coral reef. And then comes the change in storm patterns. This is connected with the ocean circulation. And if there is a continuous frequent storms, it might lead to the destruction of coral reef structure. If there are large and stronger waves than usual, they might break the coral reef and overturn coral colonies. And then changes in precipitation. Changes in precipitation leads to the increased runoff and sediment. And what happens if there is an increased runoff is that they might form the algal blooms or muddy water, so that it might reduce the light. Then sea level rise. Sea level rise is that coral reef growth is affected by sea level rise, and also due to melting and increased thermal expansion, the seawater rise the underwater coral reef receive less sunlight, so that they will grow slowly. And the underground corals might very much affected due to the sea level rise, and there might be a slowdown in the growth of the corals. Then ocean acidification, it is being the most common threat. Here I would like to state about the formation of coral polyps and the calcium carbonate. As I told, ocean will absorb increasing CO2. And what happens if the massive sink absorbs excess of CO2? The carbon dioxide from the atmosphere mixes with the water of the ocean, and they form the carbonic acid. And if the carbonic acid is mixed with the hydrogen ions present in that, it would form bicarbonate. Then it will dissociated into again bicarbonate, and now the coral polyp is ready to take up the bicarbonate and the calcium ions from the seawater. What the coral polyps used to do is that they used to spit out extra hydrogen in the bicarbonate to form a carbonate ion. At the result, after spitting out the extra hydrogen, they are having now carbonate and calcium. And finally, they will form calcium carbonate, which is the entire skeleton. So, think of it, what happens if there is excess of bicarbonate and excess of CO2 results in excess of bicarbonate. The polyps will be tired of spitting out excess hydrogen, and there will be no formation of calcium carbonate in turn. Then warming ocean, as the warming ocean absorbs lead to rising in temperature, that will lead to coral bleaching and infectious diseases. So before coming into the coral bleaching, I would state the symbiotic relationship is that zooxanthellae, which is the photosynthetic algae, how they are being symbiotic in relationship is that algae will help in removing the waste that are released by the coral. Corals in turn will shelter the zooxanthellae and keep on giving oxygen, and then it will also supports the plant in keep on doing the photosynthesis. That's why there will be a very good symbiotic relationship between them. And if there is coral bleaching due to warmer temperature, what happens is that corals will start expelling the zooxanthellae. And zooxanthellae, if it is being expelled from the coral, it will turn completely white, and it is said to be the coral bleaching. I would here like to explain with this image is that, see, the first image at the left is the healthy coral, which is very much attractive. And if it is stressed, the color of it will get somewhat dim because they are in stress expelling the algae. And if it is completely expelled, it will very much pure white. It is bleached coral. And if it is being very much dry and black or rather very brownish color, it is said to be the dead coral. And once it is bleached, it could be recovered. But if it is dead, it was completely vanished and cannot be recovered. So, what will be the effects of climate change on coral reef ecosystem is that warming ocean, coral bleaching and infectious diseases, and sea level, smoothing of coral, change in storm patterns, destruction, change in precipitation, algal and musky water, and altered ocean current, lack of food to the corals, and decrease of growth is altered by the ocean acidification. So, for examples, what are the effects happened due to this is that Great Barrier Reef in Australia is one of the largest reef of the world, but the bleaching events have killed around 50% corals, and the mass bleaching event happened in 2020 is the most widespread on the Great Barrier Reef ever recorded. Most of the animals associated with the corals have also been affected. And then significant impact due to climate change in India is that there are in India there happened three mass bleaching events in which have negatively impacted five major Indian coral reefs. And then if the climate change warms the ocean, the subtropical environments are becoming more favorable. We need to think of it that corals will enjoy the tropical climate, but due to the changing climate and due to the extra anthropogenic activities, now the corals are preferring subtropical environments more than the tropical. The number of young corals in tropical reefs have been declined by 85%, but it has been doubling on the subtropical reefs for the last 4 decades, which is mainly due to the impact of the climate change. And I would like to introduce a new term to you guys, in which a study by researchers at Rutgers University states that for the climate change, the stony corals could survive very much faster than the non-hermatypic corals. And behind this study, they have proved that this is mainly due to the term called biomineralization. So, what is biomineralization? It is the study of biologically produced materials in which they would mainly concentrating on the structured organic and inorganic composites. Here, coming to the corals, it is mainly focusing the formation of calcium carbonate, and this calcification of the corals results in the skeletogenesis process. The corals will take up calcium and carbonate from the seawater and further resulting in the calcium carbonate, mainly due to the skeletal organic matrix proteins, which is exactly present in the scleractini, which is hermatypic corals. And we need to note that it is absolutely absent in the non-hermatypic corals, that is non-reef builder corals. These proteins are only present in the reef building corals. So now the corals are being somewhat recovering than the last years, because cyclonic disturbances between April and May have been created massive destruction in West Bengal. But now there is a positive impact in the corals of Gulf of Mannar areas. And how the corals can be restored is that there might be a direct transplantation which could be carried on by these scuba divers concentrating on the corals. And coral gardening is that we should maintain underwater garden by artificially with the help of the scuba divers, etc. And micro fragmentation is that we need to keep on surviving coral, and then it should be fragmented microscopically, so that it could lead to the greater recovery of the last corals. And then artificial reefs and substratum stabilizations are also being the greater chance for restoration. And then Mithapur Coral Reef Recovery Project is the famous project in India, which is situated 12 kilometers south of the Gulf of Kutch. And also, these are being the basis of Acropora species, which is an example of the coral transportation technique from that, so that they could easily restore the last corals from here. And then NASA's Coral Project, and the abbreviation of Coral here is Coral Reef Airborne Laboratory, in which it states the relationship between the coral reef condition and the biogeophysical parameters. And how it could be examined is that there is an instrument called PRISM, which is Portable Remote Imaging Spectrometer, so that we could see through the spectrometer the condition of the reefs, and if there is any alteration needed, we could efficiently do that. So that monitoring coral reef bleaching is also be available through this project, and there are also satellite techniques which is mainly used as the coral reef watch and also hotspot observations. So the first global scientific assessment of climate change impacts is that 29 reef containing world heritage sites have been explained that if these corals are not being survived or not being restored, they cannot be restored back. There will be zero suitable coral habitats, and by 2100, and the entire marine ecosystems will get lost. So that it is the need of the art to conserve the corals and the marine ecosystem. To remembering the need of the coral conservation and restoration, Coral Triangle Day is being celebrated on June 9, in which the Coral Triangle covers the major areas of the Pacific, so that a greater contribution of that region could be lead to the greater conservation. And then Paris Climate Agreement is that here we need to note that this is the one of the major international treaty on climate change. This is which is looking after by 196 parties, and it stated that there are about 1.5 degrees Celsius increased compared to the previous years, and also it is mainly due to the only due to the anthropogenic activities. And here comes the term which is mainly important to the climate change as well as the conservation process, is that carrying capacity. As carrying capacity is the total number of individuals that can be supported in an area at a particular time. And what happens if the carrying capacity of a system is being overloaded is that there will be excess population, and ultimately they would lead to starvation, weather, loss of habitat, etc. So that there will be an imbalance in the condition of the marine ecosystems as well as the corals. So that we need to differentiate the term from the carrying capacity ecological footprint, that how many organisms we can support is that carrying capacity, and the carrying capacity should depend on the ecological footprint, which is how many resources that is required to support the existing organism. And if it is got imbalanced, ultimately they would result in the entire collapse of the system, so that ultimately threats will keep on going. So, Global Footprint Network, which is being taking survey of the carbon footprint, which is mainly that taking a survey of the increase in the CO2 of the year, which will lead to the mitigation of the CO2 problems and destruction of the anthropogenic activities could be relieved from this. And fact here we need to know, we the humans need to know that as from the age of children below 5, and also even adults of age after 60 likes chocolate. And the study it's made that chocolate industry produces about 2.1 million tons of greenhouse gases a year. And we need to calculate is that we could make chocolates, but not in the artificial way, but we could take off the healthiest way in producing this, which will keep on the earth balancing with the greenhouse effect. And also 1,000 liters of water are being produced to just produce the bar of a chocolate. That what the raw materials is that need to produces this creates the major environmental hotspot. And also 27,000 trees are felled each day for making a single roll of tissue paper. Is that because of the greediness of the humans, the nature is also being destructed. And if the nature is keep on destructing, the entire effects is being suffered by only the humans. The world average ecological footprint is that 2.75 global hectares per person, and biocapacity of 1.63 global hectares is being considered last year. And there is a 1.1 global hectare per person is a deficit. So each year, the institute is keep on tracking the day at which the CO2 has crossed its limit. Last year, it is crossed on August 22, 2020. So that day is being celebrated. That means they are being remembered for the humans to control the happenings. That is Earth Overshoot Day, in which they have been pledged to reduce the emissions of CO2 and to take care of the Earth and marine ecosystems. So we need to focus on the environmental sustainability, which include replantation. And instead of felling over and over trees, we could recycle the papers so that which will protect the trees. And conservation of energy. We could switch on lights as much as possible when we are in need of it. And then renewable energy, we could use the solar energy instead of keep on tracking electricity. And then ultimately the main role of that is water conservation and waste management. So what we could do to help the corals preservation is that we need to save our oceans and we need to save our reefs. We could minimize the use of fertilizer, environmental friendly transport, and also we need to avoid overfishing. And there should be strict laws to be enforced so that there must be almost possible prevention, and destruction will be lowered. And to conserve our oceans and coast, we need to work as a community and need to protect the areas of concern. Also, we should keep on monitoring the water quality besides checking the coral reefs. And also, we need to maintain the recreation without degrading the nature of the oceans. And also, water resources associated with oceans like estuaries and wetlands should also be keep on tracking. And then it's the duty of each and every humans to protect the bloods and protect the coral reefs and also the marine ecosystems. And that's all about my presentation. Thank you so much for your kind patience.